Thank you, Director. Earlier this year, on January 31st, the Federal Register published a rule for the ATF regarding pistol braces. So how much, I believe that rule, in that rule, you redefined the definition of a pistol with a brace to become a short-barreled rifle, and in my opinion, that exceeds the authority of ATF. That was not Congress's intent. How much did ATF spend in crafting and publishing the rule?
I don't have a specific figure that I can tell you how much ATF expended. I do know that there were over 200,000 comments that people from the public submitted in that rule, and that, as we are required to do under the Administrative Procedures Act, we examined all of those comments and actually took them into account in what the actual final rule would look like.
And yet, when ATF originally made the rule in 2012, they said that pistol braces did not convert a pistol into a short-barreled rifle. Then they changed that in 2015, right back to, no, you can't do this. And then in 2017, they said, oh, yes, you can. And now we're back to 2023, and now we're in 2023, and we're back to a pistol brace making a pistol into a short-barreled rifle. So very conflicting. A lot of time, I think, spent by ATF going back and forth, trying to figure out what I think they should not have been doing in the first place, and that is reclassifying a pistol as a short-barreled rifle, a pistol with a brace as a short-barreled rifle. Now, in this new rule, you say that people who have a pistol with a brace have 120 days 120 days to register them with the ATF. How can ATF justify that time frame? I mean, the Street Sweeper USAS 12, Striker 12 shotgun was reclassified as a DD about 30 years ago, so this is a similar situation. And that time frame was over 7 years. So, and you've got potentially 10 million to 40 million people that have pistols with braces. How can you say 120 days is sufficient time?
You mentioned that there were prior ATF rules, and I just want to say, Congressman, this is the first time on this topic that ATF has engaged in APA notice and comment rulemaking. People brought specific items
Fair enough,
to
they used
ATF
a
to
letter.
classify.
It was a letter back in 2012, and then a letter in 15, a letter in 2017. This is the actual first official rule. You are correct.
But what was happening during that period, which I agree to you, there were inconsistencies, and that was one of the reasons for the rule, is to try to clarify among those inconsistencies, because the products were changing, right, over time, and also you're right, there were inconsistencies. So with respect to the time frame.
Right, the 120 days.
Yeah, so as you know, because I saw you there, right, the day after the rule was issued, I went to Las Vegas and met with, at the SHOT Show with the NSSF, with individual gun owners, had a town hall. We launched a very significant education effort and campaign where thousands of FFLs have had the opportunity to learn about the rule. We are trying to get the word out, and when
So do you or do you not think 120 days is a sufficient time?
I believe that if there are individuals out there who have these products, that they can begin the process. So in other words, if we're very clear, if you file an application, you're fine until we look at the application.
So you think then 120 days is sufficient time? Yes or no?
I think the way that we are doing this is a fair and appropriate way to have compliance with the National Firearms Act. Yes.
Okay. So what will happen to those who never heard of the rule after 120 days? I mean, you've got potentially millions of people here. That's a heck of an ad campaign.
ATF will continue to enforce the laws as Congress has given us. We will, of course, prioritize people who present a public safety threat to the community. And it is not the object of the rule to play gotcha with law-abiding firearms owners. I would say to this, but for individuals who do know about it and who are trying to decide what to do, you can check with us as to whether your particular item is covered.
Okay.
And also, if you're
Director,
going...
let me ask you this.
Sure, of course.
Do you think it's acceptable for Congress to spend taxpayers' money on unauthorized programs?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Do you think it's acceptable for Congress to spend taxpayers' money on unauthorized programs? That is, programs that agents or agencies that are not currently authorized by Congress. You know, is that acceptable? Do you think it's legal? If something is completely unauthorized? I mean, we have authorizing committees and we have appropriating committees. This is an appropriating committee, all right? Is it acceptable?
Respectfully, I think that's several levels above my pay grade. Obviously, Congress makes the decision as to the appropriations that it passes. There are authorized committees. I know I'm appearing before an authorizing committee of this body. No, in a week or so. And so I will leave any back and forth between the authorizers and the appropriators above my pay grade in this body, which is, in my humble view, where those kinds of discussions appropriately occur.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, I understand that ATF has not released its fiscal year 2021 firearms compliance inspection statistics. We have all of 2019, we have all of 2020, we have 2022, and we actually even have up to March of 2023, but ATF has not released 2021. My question is, why has it not been released, and when will it be released?
We are committed to transparency. I'm learning about this. If that hasn't happened, that needs to happen. I don't know. I will check on it.
Would you please provide it to this committee?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. In the first page of your testimony here, you say one of the main priorities of the ATF is processing the timely registration and transfer of firearms under the National Firearms Act. What is your definition of timely?
It's not what it is now. We need to get those processing and wait times down lower.
I get that.
And so as quickly as possible, right? I mean,
What is your goal? I mean, if you don't have a goal to work toward, then, I mean, when I look at processing times, I looked 20 years ago, and the processing times haven't changed. I mean, I'm looking at, forms that literally were approved this month, and it's 7 to 9 months for an NFA form to be approved on a Form 4. I look at a Form 3, and it's 5 days.
In defense of, not of the Times, but of our agency, we process a greater volume of forms than we ever have before. I think
get that.
800,000 over the last year. The application numbers are also going up, so we have to match that, right? That's not an excuse, it's an explanation.
Okay.
And I will get back, I don't know that I can sit here and commit to a particular time limit on the spot here, but I can say that we will respond to you and set a goal.
Okay.
We will set a goal.
I mean, Judge Carter said it was years ago, 100 days. I have seen it as low as 5 weeks, where Form 4s have come back in 5 weeks. When Washington, D.C., when the NFA was transferred to Martinsburg, West Virginia. All right, that was great, fantastic move. So I would appreciate that if you would get back to me with what your goal is and then your plan to get to that goal, because I think reprioritizing your funding, okay, to make sure that you work toward that goal would be very important to achieving that goal.
That is an important function of ATF. It is one of many priorities. Getting our tracing time down is crucially important as well.
Speaking of tracing, thank you for that segue. Rep. Clyde sent a letter last year, February the 3rd, and it took 14 months for the ATF to respond to that letter. 36 members of Congress signed it and requested it, and it had to do with tracing. So how much of ATF's budget goes to digitizing out-of-business records in a database?
I am not sure of the exact number. I can get back to you with that number. Obviously, we receive
How much?
We receive tens of millions of paper records at ATF.
Okay.
They come in
Okay.
waterlogged boxes sometimes. It's incredibly difficult task. And these are also sort of...
Is the digital database that is being created a searchable database?
We are, as far as I know, the only customer that pays additional money to have search function taken out of Adobe Acrobat.
So how is it searchable?
We do not search in the specific ways that Congress has said that we can't search, right? So by personal identifier, by the way, right? We search by We run
Okay.
serial numbers.
Okay.
And I will say that that is a policy decision that Congress make. That does make traces
Okay.
take longer
According to
in
the
criminal
NTC,
cases.
According to this letter, the NTC is only authorized to trace a firearm for a law enforcement agency when the firearm is involved in a bona fide criminal investigation. That's according to the letter that we finally got, the response that came April 14th, 2023. Do you agree with that? Only a bona fide criminal investigation?
Our state and local, most traces come from your local police department, your sheriff's department, as requests to us. And we work with them, and we trust our state and local partners they submit things when they're subject to a criminal investigation that a state and local law enforcement, a sheriff, a police chief, a commander has.
Well, I think that's important because the letter also asked for NCIC codes, and there are 420 codes that were provided, and the number of traces per year from 2019, 2020, 2021. Because if a federal firearms licensee gets more than 25 traces, then they're responsible to participate in the Demand 2 program. And in looking at some of these traces, I mean, you've got 132,000 traces on a found firearm. You've got 27,566 traces related to health and safety. 2,000 related to drugs, health and safety, 89 to food, health and safety, cosmetics, health and safety, 13 related to abortion. I don't see the crime here with all these traces.
You said those are the NCIC. The C stands for criminal,
Right.
NCIC.
Right.
We, our state and local law enforcement partners, we support police and trust police departments to submit traces when they relate to criminal investigations that they're conducting.
Okay, thank you, and I yield back.